Hello everybody, my name's Novi and welcome back to the channel. If you don't already know, New Japan Pro Wrestling is a Japanese wrestling promotion with a long and storied history going back over 50 years. They're mostly known for an approach to stories vastly different from the way we do it in the States, and of course, some incredible in-ring wrestling. It's long been known that if you tune into a big New Japan show, it's likely that you're going to see a match that's worth putting on your spreadsheet. Well, actually, that era might just be in the past judging by how this year has gone. In 2024, New Japan has been a mess, constantly getting in their own way and self-sabotaging some of the most exciting things they can do for seemingly no reason. Which is why in today's video, I want to try and save New Japan Pro Wrestling from themselves more so than anything else. We'll jump right into how I'm going to do that, but first, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for weekly live streams every single Wednesday before Dynamite, and new videos just like these every Saturday, just talking graps. First and foremost, we have to find a way to deal with the loss of star power they're facing and are about to face. The departures of Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada are big ones and are pressing matters right now. But Tetsuya Naito and Hiroshi Tanahashi are seemingly about to wrap things up, and even if they don't, they simply just can't go like they used to. I know a lot of people's solution to this issue is going to be signing new talent, and while I agree with the premise, I don't really think it's the answer given Bushiroad's current financials. While we're on the financial subject too, I think I need to break some news to you guys. I'm not too sure if many of you have heard, and I do want you to sit down because this is big and it might be too much to handle. But guys, the yen, it's down right now. In all seriousness though, meme or not, it is something that we have to take into account when having this kind of conversation, which is why I think the real solution to this loss of talent is to build up talent from within their roster right now. Even in their current state, New Japan still has a plethora of young or young-ish talent just sitting there waiting for their opportunity. Whether or not they'll be able to deliver on those chances can vary, but they're young and you have to keep giving them the chances so that they can learn from them and get to a point where they can consistently deliver. We do see this already with the likes of Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji, Ren Narita, Yuya Uemura, and Gabe Kidd, and I'd like to see it continue with those guys. But I'd love for some fresh new faces to get the same kind of opportunities that they have. Those fresh faces can't just come from anywhere either, which is why I suggested they come from within, specifically from the junior division. Hiromu Takahashi, El Desperado, and Francesco Akira are the three names I'm looking at right now for promotion. Hiromu and Despy are pretty obvious, I think, to everybody because they've just kind of done all they can do in that division, including winning the title multiple times over. Plus, they've proved on the few occasions that they've been given matches with heavyweights that they can hang at that level because, of course, they can. Francesco Akira, on the other hand, is an outside pick, and not one that many people would suggest, which I do understand. There are plenty of aspects of his game that aren't totally there yet and still require that extra bit of polish. But I think just given what he's shown in the last year or so, he can be a great depth piece for the heavyweight division while he continues to develop. Again though, I understand people going against this and just wanting him to kind of stay in the juniors division while he develops because he can be one of the true faces of it when Hiromu and Despy move up. But I did want to throw him in here as a third option. Overall, I think the junior division would be just fine with, at minimum, the big two moving on. You have guys like Akira, Master Wato, Kosei Fujita, Doki, and even Kevin Knight that are ready to take over. Another aspect of building up talent from within, however, is to make certain guys bigger parts of the promotion. A great example of this is Zack Sabre Jr. Why isn't he getting all these big spotlights and these big main events when he's one of the best they've got? Another guy who's one of the best they've got, Shingo Takagi. I mean, same question. It's another big thing that New Japan does that makes people so uninterested in what they have going on. People want to see good wrestlers competing at the top of the card, not whatever they've got going on right now. There is no reason that David Finlay, a bad wrestler, should be getting forced into big spot after big spot over those guys. You have Evil main eventing one of your biggest shows of the year over, I don't know, maybe Heavyweight Desperado? You draw interest in your promotion by promoting interesting wrestlers. You don't put Evil in title match after title match just because the guy carries around a can of black spray paint. That's why I say they shoot themselves in the foot, because they're just not putting the right guys in those spots, even if we all think it's obvious. New Japan used to be the home of the best pro wrestling in the world, but the fact that they avoid good matches so often has basically killed that moniker dead. Speaking of Evil though, I think it's time we bring up another very easy way to improve New Japan. I think we should just get rid of the House of Torture. for good. This group has been infecting New Japan matches with their lazily put together interference for far too long, and it's about time we cut that out. It's gotten to the point where if you watch a House of Torture match, you should basically expect the ref to go down within the first 5 minutes, which is just bad. There's no other way to put that. I also won't accept defenders of the group saying they get heat, they're over in Japan either, because truth be told, I couldn't give a fuck about that even if it was true, which it isn't. A Japanese fan ran a poll earlier this week that asked which match should main event Dominion, and the Best of the Super Juniors finals won in a landslide over Mox vs. Evil. It's time for anyone still pretending that Japanese fans love Evil to just stop, because it's over. House of Torture bullshit isn't heat. It's not good heel work. It just makes anyone watching New Japan want to avoid any match that they're involved in. Pack the whole group up, send them off to other factions, and hopefully we don't have to see anything like this again for a while. My next idea for how to save New Japan is a complicated one, and one that won't be very simple to put into action, but I think it's time we all start pointing the finger at Gedo. For anyone who doesn't know, Gedo is the booker of New Japan, and has been for over a decade now. Obviously, he's had some very high highs during that time, but right now, he's at his lowest low as a creative. There's nothing inspiring about New Japan right now, and like I said earlier, they just always seem to get in their own way. The best example of that to me is the way last year's G1, G133, played out. In Block A, you had all of the young guys, including the big three, and none of them advanced out. Instead, Hikuleo got the nod, and he was having some of the worst matches of that block alongside Chase Owens, which is crazy because it's Chase Owens. It's moments like that where the result just seems so obvious and seems like everyone knows the right answer, except for Gedo. That makes me think that he's lost the plot. It's worth mentioning too, he let Kazuchika Okada leave with barely a real send-off. The one he got was as thrown together as it could have been, which is crazy given the fact that he's been the face of the company for years and years and years. He had Ospreay pin Shota Umino in Shota's star-making performance, just so he could lose to David Finlay on the way out. Going back even further, he had Jay White put over Hikuleo on his way out. All of this stuff is on Gedo and on Gedo alone, and really all of this video is because at the end of the day, he's the booker. Even if so many purists think otherwise, Tony Khan is not booking the show. It's Gedo, and he deserves the criticism for it. So the fix to the issue to me is, like I said, a very complicated one, but I think it's time to hand over the pen to a fresh face. I don't know who in the company could take over that spot. It's no easy task to handle, but it needs to happen. There's just been too many mistakes and too many missed opportunities piled on top of one another, just one after the other, to make me feel otherwise. The last suggestion I want to give is actually some fantasy booking. I'm not usually one to delve into that sort of thing, but I think there's one very simple story that's waiting to be told that would fix a lot of the issues I mentioned in this video in one fell swoop. So let's get into it. I think Shota Umino, who lost a match versus Jon Moxley for the IWGP World title at Resurgence last week, should fight his way through the G1 Climax 34, win, and go on to face Moxley at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom 19, and there he should win the IWGP World Championship. Now, to start, I know what people were saying about Moxley winning the belt to begin with, and a part of me understands where they were coming from. But this exact scenario is why I don't have a problem with it. Well, actually, not just that exact scenario, because I actually think it was an inspired choice given where the belt was at that moment. I know fans love Tetsuya Naito, and I do too, but we have to be honest about the way his body was holding up in those championship matches. It was becoming real clear, real fast, that his win at the Tokyo Dome was the moment of it all, and whatever came after was whatever came after. So when given the chance, pivoting to an exciting outside talent who clearly has a ton of respect for New Japan is a great idea. Props to Gedo for that one. The part of this I really take umbrage with though is the way that some fans have reacted to the belt being defended in AEW. I can understand the stuff with Moxley's win, sure, but saying a single match with Powerhouse Hobbs devalues the title or that it made no sense was just truly baffling, especially given the fact that they explained why it was happening on TV by saying Don Callis called in a few favors he had left over from putting together the Jericho Omega match. What makes it even more annoying is when the New Japan wrestlers themselves echo these same sentiments in a work shoot kind of way in backstage segments and the like. Ignoring the fact that work shoots are done to death and fucking stink at this point, this just comes off as lame. These guys are supposed to be fighters in the pro wrestling company, and they're crying about the office being okay with the booking of a match? What they should be saying is, I want to beat Jon Moxley because I want to bring our title back home. It should be centered around the wrestling and the wrestling matches, not this dork shit. Which leads right back to the Shota Mox story. That should be a major part of it. While I wish they would have held off their one-on-one match until next year's Wrestle Kingdom, I think their match at Resurgence can play a big part in this story. Shota can say he failed to bring the belt back to New Japan and that he wants to redeem himself for it. But getting another match with Mox after losing is something that Mox isn't going to do, because his student failed the final test he had put in front of him, which leaves Shota Umino only one route back to the World Championship, the G1 Climax. Obviously, this should be full of drama. He should lose a few matches, he should be on the brink of elimination, but in the end, he should get it done. If we're booking all the way to the finals as well, I personally would have Shota face Zack Sabre Jr. here. Mostly because Zack has been saying he doesn't even want to sniff a world title shot without winning the G1 because he feels that that's the only real way to earn his shot. And those two stories clashing should provide a really nice groundwork for what should be a really heated match. Both guys would be feasible winners too, which makes it even better because the result gets a little bit more foggy. Ultimately though, Shota should overcome Zack, which would be an important moment in his road to the Dome because Zack is such an important wrestler in New Japan. Zack is a top guy and Shota needs to knock those guys down, which is exactly where I want him to go post G1. Based on the last few years, it's likely that he'd put his G1 prize on the line, which is where I'd have him face a Tetsuya Naito, a Hiroshi Tanahashi, or even a Shingo Takagi. I know I said earlier that both Naito and Tanahashi were cooked nowadays, but that doesn't mean Shota getting the win off of one of these legends would mean any less. Any of those choices could make it feel like a true passing of the torch moment, but nobody could do it better than Tanahashi when it comes to Shota Umino, which is who I'd have him face. Shota has long been compared to Tanahashi as a potential ace figure down the line, which is a comp I agree with. Not because of the in-ring necessarily, but just because of the intangibles that they both share. So that moment where he overtakes him and passes him up as the new ace would be a huge moment. All of this would of course culminate in a Tokyo Dome match where the teacher, Jon Moxley, would face his young boy, Shota Umino, once again. Where, like I said earlier, Shota Umino overcomes the teacher, passes his final test, and wins the IWGP Championship, becoming the first of his generation to accomplish this. This would give New Japan an exciting young talent to bear the flag and lead the way in 2025, and provide a really compelling and engaging story for fans to sink their teeth into in 2024. At some point, they have to make the Musketeers branding they gave these guys make sense, and this is a great way to do it for Shota. Solidify one of them for years to come and truly build a new star to lead you into the future, to lead New Japan back to the glory it once had. That's all I got for today though. Hopefully the office has been taking notes this whole time because, hey, I'm cooking. Also because, who better to save New Japan than me, a YouTuber. Thank you guys so much for watching though. If you liked the video, hit the button down below, and while you're there, subscribe to the channel. We have live streams every Wednesday at 7 PM EST, and new videos like these dropping every single Saturday, always doing one thing, talking graps. For now though, it's been Novi. Much love to you all. Peace.